The state of Texas, County of Harris, to the sheriff or any peace officer of Harris County, Texas, greetings. Whereas I have been presented an affidavit in writing under oath by Detective Sergeant Ross Watson, a peace officer employed by the Houston Police Department, which affidavit is attached hereto and expressly made a part hereof for all purposes, and whereas I believe this affidavit properly establishes grounds for the issuance of this warrant, you are therefore commanded to enter the suspected place, premises, and or vehicles described in this affidavit, to wit, a gray Ford F-150 with Texas license plate KSY 0326 VIN 1 FTEW 1 CP3 JFA 16632, located at 1300 Dart Street, Houston, Harris County, Texas. This vehicle shall hereafter be referred to as suspected place. A photograph of the suspected place is provided below and incorporated into this document for all purposes. At the suspected place you shall search for, and if same be found, seize and bring before me the property described in the affidavit, to wit, any and all evidence constituting the offense of murder, to include any firearms and ballistic evidence such as firearms, unfired fire cartridges, casings, bullet fragments, cellular phone device, electronic storage devices, including SIM cards, which may connect a specific person to the offense of murder. It is further ordered that any and all property seized by authority of this warrant or during the execution thereof shall be and remain under the care, custody, and control of any peace officer to whom this warrant is delivered for execution. Further, the property may be removed and taken to any location as deemed necessary by such peace officer for purposes of safekeeping and completion of any investigation or proceedings related to the activities described in the affidavit upon which the foregoing warrant was issued. Herein fail not, but you have then and there is warrant to be executed without delay, and upon compliance with the order herein, make return forthwith, showing how you have executed the same within 3 days of the date shown below, exclusive of said date and the day of its execution. Herein fail not, and do return make hereof witness my signature on December 2nd, 2022 at 4:45 p.m. Signature, printing name, Magistrate, District Judge, Judge 482, District Court, Harris County, Texas. File, Maryland, Burgess District Court, December 6, 2022. State of Texas, County of Harris, affidavit for search warrant. Your affidavit, Detective Sergeant Ross Watson, is commissioned as a peace officer by Houston Police Department. There is in Harris County, Texas, a suspected place of premises described on the located as following: gray Ford F-150 with Texas license plate KSY 0326 VIN 1 FTEW 1 CP3 JFA 16632. This vehicle shall hereafter be referred to as suspected place. A photograph of suspected place is provided below and incorporate into this document. The suspected place is in the charge of and controlled by each of the following named and or described individuals herein called suspected party, whether one or more, to wit, Patrick Clark, a black male with date birth of 8/4/89. It is affidavits believed that the suspected party has possession of and concealing at the suspected place the following property: any and all evidence constituting the offense of murder, to include any firearms, ballistic evidence such as firearms, unfired fire cartridges, casings, bullet fragments, cellular phone devices, electronic storage devices, including SIM cards, which may connect a specific person to the offense of murder. My belief is based upon the facts herein. Your affidavit, Detective Sergeant R.M. Watson, is a certified peace officer employed by the HPD Homicide Division. Affaint has been an officer with the HPD for over 10 years. Affaint has been detective with Homicide Division for over 4 years and has been detective sergeant and a supervisor of detectives for approximately 2 years. In Affaint's current assignment, Affaint investigates kidnappings, serious violent assaults, suspicious deaths, and homicides. On the morning of November 1st, 2022, I was assigned to continue the investigation into the death of a well-known public figure, rap music artist Chris Nick Ball, aka Takeoff, who was shot and killed at approximately 2:34 a.m. outside the 810 Billiards and Bowling, located at 120 Fannin on the third top floor of the Green Street Center in Harris County, Texas, Homicide Sergeant M. Arrington and Detective A. Farrell were assigned to conduct the scene investigation, and the case was subsequently transferred to myself and my partner, Detective Sergeant M. Burrow, for following up investigation. We joined the other investigators on the scene of the morning of the incident and received a full briefing prior to taking over the investigation. We learned from the scene investigators that officers had been dispatched to the scene of a shooting shortly after 2:30 a.m. the morning and discovered the victim's body outside the doors of the bowling alley, at which time we tentatively identified by an identification card. An autopsy was later performed by Dr. P. Gumpini of Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences, who advised me that the victim was positively identified by fingerprints as Chris Nick Ball, hereafter complainant. Dr. Gumpini also advised me that the autopsy determined he had been shot twice, once in the back and once in the head. The 2 medium caliber bullets were recovered from his body. Dr. Gumpini advised that the complainant had suffered 2 gunshot wounds, one in the left side of his back, and the bullet traveled right to left and lodged in the complainant's left arm, and one in the front left side of his head, and the bullet traveled left to right, front to back. Dr. Gumpini advised me that the manner of death was ruled to be a homicide caused by multiple gunshot wounds. A fate learned from Sergeant M. Arrington and Detective A. Farrell that all involved parties, most eyewitnesses, had fled the scene prior to the arrival of Police Sergeant M. Arrington and Detective Farrell. Related to us that they had spoken with staff from Bowling Alley, including employee C. Williamson, who had advised them of the following. On the previous night, October 31st, a private party hosted by Jay Prince, later identified as local music producer James Prince Jr., had been held at the bowling alley that was attended by approximately 40 to 50 people. At around 1 a.m., the staff attempted to close the establishment at their regular closing time, but had difficulty getting everyone outside. Eventually, around 2 a.m., most people went outside in front of the bowling alley, and a large group of people congregated near the front doors of the business. A disturbance ensued and gunfire erupted among a group. The victim was struck and killed on the scene. A feint found that 9 .40 caliber shell casings were recovered from the scene. A feint learned that Sergeant M. Arrington and Detective A. Farrell that 8 .40 caliber shell casings were found in the immediate vicinity of the shooting scene, and blood trails were discovered in multiple directions. Sergeant Burrow was present on the scene when a 9th .40 caliber shell casing was recovered. Sergeant M. Arrington and Detective A. Farrell also advised that a fired 9mm shell casing was also found at the scene, but farther away from the body than the .40 caliber casing. Patrol officers advised us that 2 other people from the party had been wounded and transported to area hospital. A feint went to Memorial Hermann Hospital to check on one of the other gunshot victims, a 24-year-old female, and ended up speaking to 2 females who had been present when the shooting occurred. Witnesses J. Jones and A. Hamilton reported to a feint the following as summarized by your feint. The complainant Takeoff, his fellow group member Quavo, and local producer Jay Prince had all been present at the party, and there had been a lucrative game of dice previously going on inside the bowling alley where someone had lost a large amount of money. An argument occurred between Quavo and several unidentified black men outside the club just before the shooting occurred. Investigators obtained video surveillance from the bowling alley and other businesses. We also received multiple cell phone videos capturing various angles and portions of the event. Your feint has thoroughly reviewed all of the aforementioned videos, which individually captured different perspectives of events before, during, and after the shooting. Review of the various videos revealed the following. There is a total of approximately 34 individuals standing in a group outside the bowling alley immediately before the shooting. The complainant's fellow group member, Quavius Marshall, aka Quavo, was arguing with the man later identified as Michael Prince and 2 young black males. One small male wearing a yellow hooded sweatshirt, later identified as Cameron Joshua, and a larger male wearing a white or light tan hooded sweatshirt, later identified as Christopher Watkins. Video evidence obtained showed that Quavo and those 2 younger men had all been involved in a dice game inside the bowling alley, and a feint investigation indicated that they were arguing outside because the 2 young men had won money in the game. After an initial physical confrontation between the 2 groups, Joshua appears to be struck by an individual later identified as Willie Bland, who an investigation revealed was an associate with Quavo. Two different males can be identified as firing weapons from different directions during the incident, one of which is Willie Bland. A fan reviewed a lab report created by firearms examiner R. Hucano of Houston Forensic Science Center, HFSC, which stated that all 9 of the 40 caliber casings had been fired from a single weapon and a 9mm casing from a different weapon. The video showed that a large black male identified as Willie Bland was one of the men firing a gun. However, the trajectory taken by any bullet fired from his location at the time of any given discharge was not consistent with the injury sustained to Kendrick Ball, given Ball's body positioning throughout the duration of the gunfire. Your Faint believes that the video evidence shows the following. A black male later identified as Patrick Clark, date of birth 8/4/1989, whom a Faint had previously developed as a possible suspect, pulled a gun and fired multiple rounds in the direction of the complainant seconds before the complainant collapsed to the ground. The video does not show any other individual shooting a firearm or positioning their bodies to shoot a firearm, arm raised and firing position from the same direction from which Clark was shooting. On the video, Clark can be seen discharging a firearm several times. Multiple muzzle flashes were visible. Clark then fled on foot around to nearby House of Blues, where he was captured on a closer video surveillance. Clark then returned briefly to the bowling alley, where he was again captured on interior surveillance before fleeing the scene. Surveillance from inside the bowling alley showed that he was carrying a semi-automatic handgun when he went back inside. During the actual shooting, Clark was holding a wine bottle in one hand while he discharged the firearm with the other. Immediately after the shooting, Clark ran to the nearby House of Blues, where he set the wine bottle down and never came back for it. The aforementioned bottle was collected in the evidence during the initial scene investigation, and a Faint made a request to have it processed for latent fingerprints. Later, a Faint received a lab report completed by HFSC latent print examiner HVU, which stated that a fingerprint matching that of Patrick Clark, date of birth 8/4/1989, had been left on the wine bottle. Additionally, a Faint had compared the high-quality surveillance video recording from inside the bowling alley to a known picture of Patrick Clark, date of birth 8/4/1989, and has confirmed that it is the same person. A Faint and his partner interviewed Willie Bland, who admitted to firing a weapon at the scene. Though he said he did not know the caliber of weapon, Bland stated that he was a part of a traveling group including Takeoff, Quavo, and several other individuals, and stated that they were visiting a local music producer, Jazz Prince, which included going to a basketball game at a local gym and then going to a party at the bowling alley. Bland stated that he had seen the 2 males we had identified as Joshua and Watkins throughout the evening at both the basketball game and at the bowling alley, and that he had seen them with guns. Bland stated that he was watching them both when Quavo was arguing with them just before the shooting, and as Quavo turned and walked away, he believed that Joshua said something and began pulling the gun, so he reached out and punched him. Bland advised that he thought that the males were about to try to rob Quavo. Bland stated that he shoved the other male when he saw him coming towards him, and he heard gunfire erupt around him. Bland stated that he believed it was probably Cameron Joshua shooting at him, so he began shooting at Cameron Joshua. A Faint observed from his review of the video surveillance recordings described above that at the time of the shooting appears to start, Joshua ran back inside the bowling alley and that he was armed with the handgun, but there is no video evidence showing him firing a gun. A Faint knows from his scene investigation that 3 gunshot wounds were fired into the bowling alley. A Faint believes these bullets are consistent with having been fired by Willie Bland based on his movements and position. In your Faint's opinion, these shots could not have caused the injuries to the deceased victim or the living victims due to the shooting angles, positions of the parties, and the complaint's injuries. In my opinion, the video evidence supports Bland's statement regarding his actions before, during, and after the shooting. We found additional surveillance video from the streets surrounding the Green Street Center and located footage of the male later identified as Patrick Clark, date of birth 8/4/1989, arriving in and leaving the scene in a gray Ford F-150 crew cab pickup truck, and we were able to determine from the video that the Texas license plate was KSY0326. A Faint researched this plate number through motor vehicle records and found that this vehicle is registered to Joshua Clark at the same address used by Patrick Clark, and Patrick Clark made two HPD incident reports in 2019 and 2020 in which he identified that the truck as his vehicle. HPD cases 952864-19 hit and run incidents and 1394283-20 burglary of a motor vehicle. A feint obtained cell phone records for Patrick Clark as he was seen on surveillance video actively using his cell phone. These phone records confirmed that his phone was present in the immediate vicinity of the scene and confirmed that the last number called by Patrick Clark before he had arrived at the bowling alley and his first number he called after fleeing the scene in his vehicle belongs to professional boxer Shakur Stevenson, who was known to be present at the scene. This matches the surveillance video which depicts Patrick Clark entering a bowling alley with the same individual as well as leaving together afterwards. A feint reviewed two reports from the firearms section of the Houston Forensic Science Center, which were both authored by R. Hucano, a firearms examiner. In said reports, a feint observed that the examination of the ballistic materials recovered from the body of the complainant and submitted for testing revealed that the projectile recovered from the complainant's left arm was from the .40 caliber family and that both gunshot wounds suffered by the complainant came from the projectiles fired from the same firearm. As such, the complainant was not struck by projectiles fired from multiple firearms. Patrick Clark was arrested by members of the Houston Police Department with a valid probable cause arrest warrant on December 1st, 2022. Officers with the Houston Police Department Gang Division, including Officer J. Bravo and Officer J. Rivera, conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle Patrick Clark was driving, a gray Ford F-150 with Texas license plate KSY0326 VIN 1FTEW1CP 3JFA16632. During his arrest, officers found that Patrick Clark was found to be in possession of a .45 caliber handgun in his waistband. A feint knows that this is not the firearm used in his crime, as the different caliber than the fired evidence at the scene. A feint knows from speaking with the officers involved in Patrick Clark's arrest that his gray Ford F-150 with Texas license plate KSY0326 VIN 1FTEW1CP3JFA16632 was later towed to a tow lot located at 1300 Dart Street, Houston, Harris County, Texas. A feint learned the circumstances of Patrick Clark's arrest from speaking with officers directly involved in the arrest as well as reviewing their supplements to the offense report. A feint attempted to speak with Patrick Clark and he declined to make a statement. Officer J. Bravo, a peace officer employed by HPD and assigned to the Gang Division, informed a feint that during Patrick Clark's subsequent processing at the Harris County Jail, he asked Officer Bravo what was he going to have to do with his weapons and then specified that he wanted to know what would happen to his guns. Officer Bravo told a feint that he believed this meant there were additional firearms inside Patrick's vehicle. A feint believes that Officer Bravo is a credible and reliable individual. Therefore, based on Patrick Clark's statements to Officer Bravo and based on the fact that Patrick Clark used his same vehicle to flee from the murder scene, a feint believes that within the gray Ford F-150 with Texas license plate KSY0326 VIN 1FTEW1CP3JFA16632, law enforcement officials will likely find additional firearms or additional firearm evidence relevant to the murder of the complainant. A feint also believes within the vehicle, law enforcement officials will likely find firearms and ballistic evidence such as unfired fired cartridge casings, bullets, bullet fragments, cellular phone devices, and electronic storage devices, including SIM cards, which constitute evidence of murder. Wherefore, a feint asks for the issuance of a warrant that will authorize a feint to seize the vehicle and to search it for the property described above and to seize the property if so found. A feint requests authority from the court to transport, remove, or take any property or evidence seized pursuant to the warrant requested herein to any location deemed necessary for purposes of safekeeping and completion of any investigation or proceedings related to the activities described in this affidavit. Further, a feint requests authority to relocate the vehicle to a place where it may be secured to enable accomplishment of the purposes of this warrant. Wherefore, Premises considered, your affiant respectfully requests that a warrant issued authorizing your affiant or any other peace officer of Harris County, Texas, to enter the aforementioned suspected place, which is a gray Ford F-150 with Texas license plate KSY 0326 VIN 1FTE W1CP 3J FA 16632, located at 1300 Dart Street, Houston, Harris County, Texas, with authority to search and to seize property and items set out earlier in this affidavit. Sworn to and subscribed before me on December 2nd, 2022. Filed Maryland Burgess, District Clerk, December 6, 2022. Printed name, Magistrate District Judge, Judge 482, District Court, Harris County, Texas. The state of Texas, County of Harris, return and inventory. The undersigned, being a peace officer under the laws of the state of Texas, certifies that the foregoing warrant came to hand on the day it was issued and that it was executed on the second day of December AD 2022 by making the search directed therein and seizing during the search of the following described property: Taurus 9mm, DIMS, MacBook, Android phone, prospect, something, packaging. I don't know, bro. Like, I tried like hell. But whoever wrote this, he definitely didn't want y'all to read this shit. But fuck it. Make sure you subscribe, turn on that bell to stay notified, share to keep your people aware. Man, I'll be making some videos on this personally. I appreciate you guys all. It has been 20 minutes. Go and enjoy your day. Ceddy Nash on Instagram. I'm starting up the TikTok, so if you want to follow me on TikTok, whatever the hell, just search Ceddy Nash. One word. It's always one word. Catch y'all later. I'm gone.